aspirational hero. Move that aspirational, move that aspirational, move that aspirational, move that aspirational, move that aspirational goal. So the aspirational heroes need to be there. They need to be pure 100% from the beginning. They need to be at that unobtainable goal of perfection and good and hopeful and inspirational and all of that. Move that aspirational, 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 move that aspirational. Stop deconstructing heroes. Aspirational or cathartic motivational. Move that aspirational, move that aspirational, move that aspirational, move that to aspire. That will never ever get old. Welcome everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Do let me know if the volume sounds normal, as it always does, because I did change some settings around a little bit. I was recording something for something else, and anyway, things got changed around a little bit. But welcome to another Office Hours live stream. Great to have you here. Does that count as a Rickroll? Does this count as a Rickroll for that intro? I don't know. Does it? I don't think so. Welcome to everybody. I do believe Ghost Planet Max Inc. was there first. Hanging out and chatting and getting stuff off of his chest. Good to know. Good to know. Let's see. Private Eye and Retrospectiva are just Private Eye, I think now. Private Eye 10. You guys change up the names. Good to see you. Nathaniel Zalozball. Alec Purdue. Great to see you. He said that Matt Walsh logo. You know, long before I ever even knew who Matt Walsh was, some people were saying, "You look like Matt Walsh." Like, who's Matt Walsh? And I don't think I do. I think it's just white guy with short brown hair, beard, and glasses. You know, it's kind of like how all fat guys kind of look the same to some people, like all white guys with a beard and glasses, you know, look the same. Let's see. Zero Gun Reveal. Good to see you there. Studio Soups. Great to see you. Imaginative Hobbyist. Ohas. Ridian Merchant. Ace Moic. Or Ace LM. Again, you guys changing up these names. Throwing me for a loop. Leia Plus Size. Great to see you. Final Fantasy Fan. Mecha Missionary. And so many more. All the usual folks in here. Samuel Proctor, my dear Sound Engraver, of course. Kal-El. Wonderful that everybody's here. Yeah, I missed last week. It's always I needed the sleep last week. Man, I got home from Mass and I just crashed, passed out. But okay, doing okay tonight. Ready for a good stream. And we're at the cusp of the holidays. I never realized it until they mentioned in Mass that next week is the Feast of Christ the King, and then there's Advent. Advent starts right after that, you know, and of course, Thanksgiving is there, and then the next Sunday, boom, Advent, right into Christmas season. So, been trying to do that. Someone said, "Whoa, what happened to Frankenstein?" Oh, you're talking about the movies. I thought you were talking about like the figurine behind me. I was like, "What? They're still there. They're standing." I'll take those down at Thanksgiving when I start decorating for Christmas. So, I hope you guys are doing well. I don't know how long we'll stream tonight. I always say that. I don't really have a huge number of issues to talk about or anything, or even reviews. I've been taking my sweet time reading. I've got it over there. It's too far to reach right now. But I've been taking my sweet time reading Batman Revolution, which is the John Jackson Miller, the third part. Well, his second book in the Batman 89. Saga, but it's so great because I've got the you get the Batman novelization from 89, the Tim Burton Batman novelization, and then you go to Batman Resurrection, the first John Jackson Miller, and then Revolution. It's so great. And I was thinking because I had made no bones about how I hate Sam Hamm's comics. Sam Hamm just can't write. I don't know. I mean, apparently he's written all these kind of scripts and everything, but his stories are just awful. The one problem is that he just uses it as a platform for his political ideologies. And some people are like, so what? So what? Political ideologies have been in comic books all that. No, they haven't. Not to the stake and to the degree that it's an ideology, that all things in the story are subservient to the ideology. But even aside from that, the story's just not very well done. He leaves all these loose threads and characters underdeveloped, and it's just and I noticed a lot of other people on some forums, Facebook pages and whatnot, were talking about the same thing, and they didn't even mention the politics. They were just talking about how the story is just so crappy. And I made a comment. I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I made a comment saying, I really wish that Warner Brothers or whoever's in charge of this or whatever specifically would allow John Jackson Miller's continuity to be its own thing and to break off from Sam Hamm's comics. Because right now they're trying to kind of keep it in the same continuity. You'll see certain characters that show up later in Sam Hamm's crap comics. You'll see some of those characters show up in John Jackson Miller's novels, and that's no big deal. They're just characters, little bit parts here and there. And Sam Hamm right now is setting all of his comics almost like 10 or 20 years, even. Maybe 20 years is a bit of a stretch, but at least like 10 years after Batman Returns. I mean, it's a long time after. I mean, Michael Keaton's gone gray and everything. His Batman Bruce Wayne in that. And it's just awful. It's just an awful continuity. I mean, to say nothing, the politics are one thing, but also, as I've said before, Sam Hamm's comic books came out. His first comic book came out before John Jackson Miller's Resurrection came out. And so this was, people were dying to get more out of the Batman 89 universe. We were desperate to get more story because we love that movie. We love the universe. And okay, hey, Sam Hamm, the original scriptwriter for the first movie, he's going to, put out a comic book. And so you rush to a comic book that's your first opportunity to get more story in this universe. And what does that mean? That means you want to revisit these characters doing what you enjoyed them doing at the time they enjoyed doing it. You don't get your first glimpse back into that universe be like 10 years later, and Gordon's retiring and Batman doesn't even know what he's doing. He's kind of, out of touch, and he's letting people die. And what? And you think about continuity wise, and Sam Hamm's the one bringing in like Dent becoming Two-Face and Barbara Gordon coming in, and more of a constant character there, and you're thinking that's how far in this continuity it needs to take for all that to happen. No, bullcrap. When you see a movie that you love and it's become such an icon for culture, all of us have been thinking about the Burtonverse and what it would be like with the Burtonverse continuing into meeting the Riddler, and the Burtonverse continuing into meeting Barbara Gordon, James Gordon's daughter, and we want this setup to continue. And that's what readers want. That's what audiences want. That's what we've been dreaming about. So it's idiot writers who come back in. Yeah, but it would be interesting if like none of that happened, and 10 years later, shut up, get out of here. Who greenlit this crap? And thank goodness John Jackson Miller understood that. Now, granted, he's setting his books pretty much right after Batman 89. I mean, Batman 89 happened in the fall. John Jackson's Batman Resurrection happens in the spring, and then Revolution happens in the summer. I don't know exactly. It's probably about 2 years later that Batman Returns happens. So even if John Jackson Miller just continues to tell stories within this time frame, he's still got a long time to play with. I would just like to see him be able to tell stories after Batman Returns as well. Once Catwoman's at play, she's a character in the universe. I mean, Selina makes a lot of appearances in these books before she becomes Catwoman. But yeah, I mentioned anyway in that forum, I mentioned a comment saying that I really wish they would I'm not even saying cancel Sam Hamm's comics. If there are people out there that like it, great, go gobble that crap up if you want. But let us have John Jackson Miller's continuity break away from the Sam Hamm comics. Don't let it be bound like it's going into that, because that's the only way I'm enjoying John Jackson Miller's books, is in my head thinking that's not even, this is an open future, not worrying about Sam Hamm's crap continuity there. And a lot of people were agreeing with me. And again, I didn't even bring the politics into it. I was just saying the stories, his stories are leagues beyond Sam Hamm's compositions, and the way he's just underdeveloping characters, and the pace is all over the place, and some cool ideas pop in, but they're not developed, and it's just garbage. And that's what happens when you let your storytelling become subservient to an ideology. It can't help it. That's what happens. So yeah, I'm hoping that that happens. Maybe we can start a petition for it or something. I mean, Warner Brothers won't do it. Won't do that as long as they can continue to have John Jackson Miller write books that take place before Sam Ham's comics happen. Why would they do that? Because they'll think, well, people will still buy these because technically it's not into that continuity yet. But then other people who might get mad at us won't be mad at us, and they'll still Warner Brothers, that we know they don't give a crap about the fans. They're Warner Brothers. They haven't given crap about fans for decades upon decades. Studio Super, good to see you there. He said they claim that every comic book hero is leftist, yet actively try to change the characters to suit their sensibilities. If they have to change them to this degree, how leftist were they? Exactly, exactly. They pretend, oh, they've always been, what's always, no, it's not. Open your eyes. Only an idiot would say that. Look around and you can see the abrupt shift and change that happened. So anyway, um, Alec Purdue said Saudi Arabia is looking to buy Warner Brothers. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I haven't been keeping in touch with or keeping on top of the news about who's going to buy Warner Brothers. I know there's all was it Netflix? Is it all these other people? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll see. I don't really think I don't think anything's really going to change overall. Big. I mean, some little things will change. Maybe they'll please answer my prayers and let them stop the James Gunn universe. But I don't think anything's really going to happen in terms of no one's going to suddenly buy it and say, we're going to care about the fans. They just don't care about fans. People with that much money, people in the entertainment industry today, they just don't give a crap about fans. They're so uh, hypnotized by this corporate way of thinking. And the corporate way, just in a nutshell, the corporate way of thinking is not the creative way of thinking. And I'm not saying you just only need the creative way of thinking and nothing else. I know businessmen are businessmen for a reason. But if you're a businessman and you're like a corporation for an entertainment industry, you can't think and operate that entertainment industry in the same way you'd operate a business. So a corporation just looks at the bottom line at the end of the year. Oh, that movie made good money. Great. Let's do that movie again. And that's what they do. They get somebody to do just a rehash of that film or the exact same thing that film did, but maybe a little different here, there. And it's just, we want stories are supposed to breathe. They're supposed to continue. They're supposed to develop. And nobody in a corporate room or a corporation is even cognizant of that. They're so beyond. I remember when this is just one example of the disconnect between executives and the actual stories that they own. When New 52 was happening, which was a horrible movement in comics, and one of the things they were doing in New 52 was they were going to make what's his name? I forget his last name. Alan something. The original Green Lantern, not Hal Jordan, but the first Green Lantern that had a different, cosmic ring. It wasn't like the Guardians, all of that. But they were making him gay, which was stupid. Stop changing characters. But they were making him gay. And Jeff Johns had to go explain to the executives that, no, this doesn't mean that the next Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie has to make him gay. This is a different character. This is it's just like, why own this property? Why do they get to make decisions about it if they are that out of touch and they have no clue, not only about the properties that they own, but just how story works? I mean, and this is, so their answer to that, right, is, well, let's get some creatives in charge. Let's have somebody like James Gunn or Zack Snyder. Let's get them in here. They don't care about the characters. Again, if you knew enough about the characters, it's good that you want to put somebody else in charge. It's good that you want to put somebody who's an actual storyteller in charge of a universe. But here's a thought. Maybe go find somebody who already deeply loves the characters and doesn't have to come to it and find their way in, to this character since you offered it to them. That's ridiculous. How stupid are you? What's so hard about finding somebody? They're out there. There are storytellers out there who already love these characters, already grew up on these characters, know what's iconic and wonderful about them. But see, they don't look for that. They just look for who made some movies that made money. Okay, let's put them in charge of our product. That's again, it's just this corporate idiotic way of thinking. And that's why we're never going to get good decisions made about these. That's why my thing is I can't wait until they hit public domain. I know it'll take a while. First we'll get the first iteration of Superman, and then we'll eventually get, as we go in. But that's the only way to stop them. That's the only way to stop them from caring about the movie. And people say, "Oh, how can you say that? Once it's public domain, people are going to make all kinds of horrible." Yeah, you're going to have a lot of crappy stories out there, but it's understood. At that point, once these characters hit public domain, any consumer will know that anything you buy with a Superman logo on it is not the real Superman, obviously, because it's public domain. You're going to have any idiot writing anything they want to about it. So then, gasp, the reader will actually have to practice a little discernment and find something that's actually true and good, and not just eagerly slop up whatever movie comes out next and go, "Well, wasn't that bad? It wasn't blah, blah, blah." That's the problem right now. So I can't wait for these characters to hit public domain. Hashish, Hashir said, finally, didn't miss the stream. Yeah, glad to have you here. Good to see you, AL. So anyway, that's what I've been reading, the Batman 89. Then while I'm I watched a lot of movies coming up to Halloween, but after that, I was kind of focusing on in my own writing, really trying to finish up the oh, I got my thing here going here. This yeah, playback was coming through there. I wanted to get another tab open. I'm really trying to finish up the collection of short stories that I've been doing, that I've been releasing each one as a short read on Amazon. And I just released The Witch House. I'll show it again here. Uh, let's see. I should have just gone to the view on Amazon. There we go. Let me share the screen. So I've been releasing a short read. I was starting to do it every month, but then summer was, kind of crazy, and I fell a few months behind. But but I released another one again this it was like November 1st because the formatter didn't get it back to me in time for it to be Halloween. Witch House was that one. It would have been great. Pardon the cart again. My daughter just adds things to my Amazon cart. Luckily, she can't buy it because it's password protected. But you see, it's like $1,000 worth of crap my daughter just puts in the cart. Anyway, yeah, Witch House by Michael Kreitzer, and I got this artist on Fiverr that does the art for it. Pretty good, and they're all under 10 pages, or maybe this one might be 11 pages, but they're short reads. Like I said, like I talked about the unity of effect that Edgar Allan Poe talks about, and they're part of the series. Which eventually, once I put all of these out, there'll be 10 of them all together. Then I will collect them into a paperback and just sell it on Amazon as well. But started out with Girlfriend in the Basement, there, No Live Models, Unboxing Anna, Backstage Bargain, Witch House. The next one coming up, uh, probably at the end of this month, will be a story called Black Lace 101, which is pretty good too. So yeah, it'll be 10 altogether. So anyway, I've been focusing on that, trying to gear my mind more towards short storytelling, anthology like storytelling. There's short tales that I love. That's what I studied. That's what I really, kind of specialized in, in my scholarship as well as writing. So in terms of watching, I wanted to watch something that would reflect that kind of short form storytelling. And I found on I have a Roku TV, and on the actual Roku channel, they play the entire seasons, the whole series of the reboot they did of The Outer Limits in the 90s. And if you know anything about that, this was done by the same people that would start doing Stargate SG-1 just a few years later. And you guys know how I freaking love Stargate SG-1. So yeah, Brad Wright and all of those people were working. A lot of the same actors will show up and everything. And so I started watching that. The first season, because I've seen many episodes of it, and they do like marathons on Sci-Fi Channel back in the day or something. And I've seen some amazing episodes, but I wanted to watch it kind of in order. And the first season has some really fine episodes. It has some that are a little clunky, you know, but I think the first season was the show really finding its traction and cranking out some good episodes in that season. But I think season two really hits it. So anyway, I'm like one episode away from completing season one of that. And I think I want to finish that out first. Then I actually have a DVD set. They did a series of, it was back in the 80s, and it's an anthology series where they made Ray Bradbury short stories for television. So kind of like a Twilight Zone kind of thing, but they were all based on Ray Bradbury short stories. And they've got that on their Roku TV too, but I have the DVDs as well. They divided it up into like so many seasons, but they're not really proper seasons. It was like one season's like 3 episodes, and then another one like maybe ekes out 8 or something like that. That's about it. But you know, Ray Bradbury, I freaking love Ray Bradbury. So I've read a lot of those stories. But it'd be cool to see how they adapt them to television. So I'm excited about that. A couple more super chats here. Studio Super and Looney Tunes back in action. It takes some jabs at how out of touch Warner Brothers is with the characters. Fired Daffy Duck, only to find their next film is a mess without him, but blame someone else. That's funny. That's funny. That's exactly what they do. I mean, I've gone through the list before. I'll go through it briefly again. This is how idiotic anything good that Warner Brothers has ever created with their DC characters has been by accident. It's been a happy accident. Richard Donner getting hooked on getting assigned to Superman, wonderful, glorious, gave us the classic Superman movie, but it was an accident. They didn't know what they were doing. And then they're like, well, let's get Tim Burton to do a Batman movie. That was great. Again, it wasn't completely true to the comics because of the time and everything like that, but I still think it was the best Batman live action movie we've had thus far. I know Big Al will tell me no, 1966 was, but yeah, I'll hold them both up. How's that? But Tim Burton did a good Batman movie. Let's get him to do Superman, even though those two characters are not the same approach. What's his name? Bryan Singer did a good X-Men movie. Let's get him to do Superman. No, these are two completely different universe, completely different approaches. Christopher Nolan did Batman. He doesn't want to do Superman. Let's get Zack Snyder, the guy who did The Watchmen, to do Superman. What the freak are you thinking? And then with James Gunn, let's get the guy who did the Suicide Squad to do Superman. Their heads are so far shoved up their buttholes that they can't be saved. They can't be helped. Warner Brothers cannot do it. It cannot crank out a good movie on purpose. If they do, it's by accident. Anyway, another chat here from Studio Super. Also from that same film, Porky. First they tell me to lose the stutter. Now they tell me it's not funny. Now they tell me I'm not funny. It's a pain in the butt being stutters politically correct. Speedy, you're telling me. That's funny, Speedy, you're telling me. That's good. Yeah, I've got to see that. I mean, a lot of people are telling me it's good, and I love the Looney Tunes classic from the day. So I've got to watch that. It's been on my list to get around to at some point. Oh, good. Sound Engraver dropped the link to my my books there, my short reads. They're like $2.99. It's a short read. You can read it on your computer real quick. I will put them together in a paperback once I've got 10 of them out there. And I know some people are waiting for that, but the short reads help me gain a little momentum if I get some more people, enough buzz about it. If I get actually people reading it. The thing about me is I just don't care about marketing. And I know that means no one's going to read my stuff. But you just have to come to a point where you think, okay, what do I care about and what do I don't care about? I'm a creative. I like being a creative. I'm not trying to make my creative work my career. I teach, I have jobs, I make my money, and that's fine. Because I had the opportunity at one point, I don't know how successful I would have been, but I had the opportunity to go into like franchise writing, like the people who write Star Trek not fan fiction, but official Star Trek fiction or official Star Wars or any sci-fi or franchise that's out there popular, and they work as contractors mostly, and that's how they work. They get these contracts, they submit their outlines, and everything's on a rolling basis. And here's the outline for that. Okay, that's approved, or write up the novel and this and that. But the problem I noted with really any of those authors I've ever known is that you rarely get a real absolute gem of a novel from them. And it's not because they can't do it. It's because they're forced to write so much output so quickly to have it, streamlined, to have someone over their shoulder the whole time. And they're writing. And, to somebody who's just addicted to the franchise, they're going to read every word or whatever. But if you really step back, like how much of that was really quality? How much of that was really good stuff, And it's not, again, it's no commentary on them as a writer. It's just a comment on the fact that no writer, musician, whatever, you can't just crank out something every month and have it all be good. The artistic process takes more time. It takes more time with some people than it does with others, but it just takes more time. So I've always wanted my creative work just to be as it comes, and I don't care about marketing. And I maybe one day if I have the money and care enough about even hiring a marketer, I could do that. As long as somebody out there is reading my work, I'm kind of happy with it. It's the same way with my YouTube channel. people are always like, man, you don't, do this and that. Why don't you, you really need to have a better graphic or a better that. Like, because I don't care. I'm happy I have fun doing my YouTube channel. I've got 40 people listening. That's great. If it was 10 people listening, I'd still be doing it. Um, that's just that, I'm not here. And I think the people that come to my channel because of that appreciate the sincerity that comes with that. I'm not trying to follow every wave or like, here's my reaction video to so and so as it got some clicks in the algorithm. I could care less about the algorithm. I'm going to talk about what's important to me, and then not talk about what's not important to me. I don't have to go chase a, a a wave of this or that just to make my click quota on YouTube and stuff. Um, Make sure or go back to these super chats before I miss some of them. All right, my dear sound engraver says Black Lace and Unboxing Anna can mess with you. Yeah, those are two stories that'll mess with you a bit. Unboxing Anna is already available. Black Lace 101 comes at the end of this month. Yeah, appreciate that, my dear. Ashir said I've been playing RDR2. Sweet, and love it. Wish we had more masculine characters like Arthur Morgan. Yeah, or John Marston. I mean, all this news is coming out about, we're going to get some news about the third one. It'd be great to get a third one. The main writer behind the RDR has left Rockstar Games, and anything new that comes out from any media today, whether it's games, movies, music, or whatever, it's just like, man, the chances are against you that it's going to be quality. But I do hope we get a good quality third one, and it should follow suit. It should go back even farther in time and tell a story about the gang when they were young, when Dutch Vanderlyn was still the great, Robin Hood like character that they all hailed him as, because part two is it goes back in time. It's a prequel. You get the story of him kind of coming undone, and you get the end of the gang there, which led John Marston to go off on the adventures that he had in the first one. So yeah, a third one should go back even farther and tell the story of, maybe a young Dutch and Hosea putting together the gang, or the early days of the gang or whatever. You can see John and Arthur as kids or something there, something that'd be fun. But yeah, it's a classic game. It's so solid. I've been playing lately. I just finished the first Mafia game. I don't know why these games never really clicked with me, but I loved LA Noire so much. And Mafia was kind of like a mini LA Noire game. I mean, it was that kind of style. You're in the 30s. You're set in a fictional city called New Heaven, but it's basically like New York City or Chicago, maybe. I don't know. But the Mafia times in the 30s, really great. The story moves a little too quickly towards the end. That's my only really gripe with it. It should have, stretched out, give us a little more reason for the things that are happening. But all the nuts and the shell of it, nuts and bolts were there. So that was good. Part two is set like in a completely different time period. So I don't know if I'll like that as much, but I'll give it a try. So we'll see. Tom Spiegel, so the decision to put Zack Snyder on Superman because he directed Watchmen will always be one of the most imbecilic decisions in movies. You're absolutely right. It actually makes me laugh out loud. No joke. It's true. It's true. They even asked, I say this before, and people are like, what? Where'd he say that? Google it. It's out there. When Zack Snyder, they were interviewing him, he was doing like the promotional circuit for Watchmen. And at the same time, Christopher Nolan was doing the Batman movies, and they asked Zack Snyder, they said, hey, well, would you be ever interested in doing something like Batman? And Zack Snyder said, nah, I mean, maybe if Batman got prison raped or something, he'd be more like in my world. But, and that's the man. They said, that guy needs to do Superman. I mean, you can't laugh at Warner Brothers executives enough. And every time they get some new chucklehead in there, like, oh, this new guy is going to come in here and fix it, guys. I have faith in him. Well, you're an idiot, because this is these are the type of people they hire. They don't know how to hire anybody else. They just stop it. I agree with you. All right. I think they got all the super chats out. So yeah, maybe next week I'll talk a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I should do a review of the Outer Limits season by season. I should probably just watch the whole series, because it had like 7 seasons. I don't know. We'll see. If season 2 is that different, maybe I'll talk about the season 1. But yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed season 1. And I used to love back in the day. I don't watch not network television. I don't know what we call it. I don't even watch cable television anymore. I watch some streaming services. Like I have a subscription to Fox One, so I can watch like the Gutfeld show or some of the special documentaries they put out or something like that. And I have subscriptions to streaming services that my daughter likes to watch, so I could watch series that they come out with or something like that. But uh, I don't have access to like live television. But I do remember back in the day before, all media went to crap. I used to love it on Saturdays. Sci-Fi Channel would play a marathon. They pick like one classic show or like underrated show or some show that people didn't know about, and they would just do a marathon of it. And that's where I first, found out about the Outer Limits remake that they had done, because Stargate was so big and I was watching that. But they would do marathons of Tales from the Dark Side, which I used to watch as a kid in the 80s and loved. They would do marathons of gosh, I don't know, Time Cop. It was just a fun Saturday because Saturdays were my day, like to clean the house and get ready for like my sci-fi night Saturday when all the shows would come on and stuff like that. So, or maybe it was Friday. I'm thinking. I think they did it Friday and Saturday. I don't know. But the Roku channel has a lot of those classics. They have the old Lex. Was it Lex? Some numbers after it, but it was an old sci-fi show that was kind of fun. You guys remember Forever Night? That was a crazy show they had back there too. It was like by the vampire who worked as a nighttime policeman. Yeah, it was back when they were still the Sci-Fi Channel, not Sci-Fi. Their little SCYFY. Which they did for marketing, but our trademark or whatever. But it was dumb. I hated that change. All right. Make sure. Okay, so Alec Purdue was the next super chat here. Said, gonna fanboy a bit here. I'm actually playing Sonic Adventure 2 while watching the stream. Still such a wonderful story. Made me relearn why I like Shadow as a character. That's cool. Yeah, like I said, I haven't played Sonic games since Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. Those were the Sonic 2 when Tails was introduced. That was my last Sonic on the Sega Genesis back in the day. Nathaniel's Lowsball said, looks like they're making a season 2 of Monarch that focuses on Kong. Though based on what you said about season 1, I don't see you picking it. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna give it any more chances. The people in charge of it are just there was way too much ideology shoved into that show. There were good things about it. I mean, Kurt Russell and his son were freaking amazing in it, and some of the other actors were good, but it was 100% ideology driven, and yeah, so I'm not interested in that. Give us another movie. Stop with the crappy ideological series. But yeah, I had the only topic I had for tonight was just one thing I wanted to briefly mention. I don't know how far we'll go with it. I'll get to it in a second though, because it looks like Studio Soups here has a super chat that's talking about the stuff we're already talking about here. Thank you for the super chat there, Studio Super. Said, been thinking if I were in charge of making Superman film, and if it'd work, if I'd use past Superman in it. Brandon Routh is Jor-El. Oh, okay. Oh, Brandon Routh is Jor-El. Nicolas Cage is Pa Kent. Dean Cain is Perry White. Cavill is Zod. I just don't like Cavill. I mean, as an actor, I really don't like him as an actor. I don't think he's a good actor. He's passable for a Hollywood actor, but he just doesn't have a very good range of emotions. And people are like, oh, but look at this, what he said here, and he said this, and he's actually sticking up. He's a Johnny come lately to standing up for fans. He didn't care about fans when he signed on to Superman. He read that script. He knew he was going to go out and support the heck out of it in the marketing, and he signed on. He wasn't starving in a cardboard box on the street, so he had to take the role. Bullcrap. He signed on to that knowing what that movie did to Superman. And he signed on to Witcher, knowing what The Witcher was going to do to The Witcher. And then suddenly he decides he's tired of it. And he says a few comments in interviews that fans are like, yeah, man, he's one of us. I'm like, you guys been paying attention? He just realized that shtick kind of caught fire with some of you guys. So everybody's like, he's our guy. Wake up. Wake up. Ashir said Jim Shooter warned everyone about corporation. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't touch any modern comics today, unless they're like, some of the people who like do their Cyberfrog or John Malin's comics, stuff like that. I just ordered Sound Engraver, and I just ordered Billy Tucci's new comic as well, continuing his She series, like stuff like that. The creator owned franchises I'll still read, but I could care less about anything new from DC or Marvel. I'm I'm sure maybe they eke out a really cool issue here and there, or maybe this one run had a pretty cool arc for a limited. I couldn't care less. It's not worth all the crap you have to put up with. Uh, so yeah, DC and Marvel can just die as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, let it go to public domain. It's the only way that we'll get good stories anymore. The Imaginative Hobbyist says thoughts on the news about Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz returning for a new Mummy movie. Don't. Please don't. I hope it dies. I hope it doesn't go anywhere. And I love the Mummy movies. I love them. But I'm so sick of legacy sequels. They're just made now to cash in on nostalgia, and it's so rare that you have anything good. I know it's possible to get something like, the Top Gun Maverick or something like that. Usually it's going to be crap. At best, most likely it's going to be something like Beetlejuice, which was fun to see some of the actors back. It was kind of fun to enter into the world, but it was almost like, eh. It's like, I don't know, the storytellers just keep wanting to do something new and different, and we don't want that. Especially if nostalgia is bringing you to the movie again. You want more of what you loved. Now, I know that doesn't mean like a beat for beat remake of the movie or anything, but like Beetlejuice. What some of the things that people love about that movie, it's cultural, was that calypso music. Now I know that was just the music that the couple, Gina Davis and Adam Baldwin's were Alec Baldwin, the couple, that was their music they listened to, and they weren't in this movie, so fine. But still, that music that needs to come back in the sequel, but they didn't. They did some other crappy music, and this dumb song that Beetlejuice like makes them all dance to in the end was just cringeworthy and painful to watch. It wasn't funny. It was stupid. The Soul Train was dumb. It's like, but that's storytellers wanting to do something new and different. Know your audience, know the material, know what drives people to the material. Stop it. Anyway, I think I had another super chat here. Samuel Proctor. So I started reading the Odyssey for the first time. Cool. Loving every second of it. The Fitzgerald translation, not the woke Emily Wilson one Nolan is using. Yeah, I don't you got to be careful of those translations, definitely, especially with the Greek ones and everything. What was the name of there's a great old scholarly translator. I can't remember his name, but he did the Iliad and the Odyssey. I think he did a bunch of Ovid stuff too from that. I can't see my books from here, but yeah, anyway, you do have to be careful about your translators that you pick, especially these days. So the other thing I talked about, I was talking recently about two things I've been talking about the crappy nature of James Gunn's Superman movie and how that's not Superman, how he made him a very effeminate character. And what I mean by a feminization of Superman isn't that David Cornsweat's walking around with a limp wrist or something like that. No, what I mean is when you take a character who's supposed to be a masculine character and you feminize them, then that's going to not be traits that oh, what's wrong with that trait? It's fine in a woman. If they're trying to make it onto a man, it doesn't work. It's over the top. It's horrible. So women in general, there are exceptions, but women in general are a little bit more emotional than a man. And that can show up in many different ways and all of that. That's fine. But when you take a man and just give him hissy fits and make him just an emotional, teary-eyed, blubbery slob, which is what that movie was going for in Superman. He didn't have any control of his emotions. He's talking to Pa Kent, and Pa Kent, you know me, I'm just an old softy. I cry at the top of it. Shut up. Stop it. But one of the reasons people were trying to defend that movie, some people anyway, and I even saw it on like a Bishop Barron's ministry put out a release like the Christian messaging in Superman, talking about that Superman movie. I hate that. I hate that defense. Yeah, but it's got Christian themes. That's what people were telling me about crappy K-pop Demon Hunter. Yeah, but I mean, the writer creators are talking about their Christian religion and the Christian themes in it. This gets under my skin so much. You can find Christian themes in anything you want to. You could go do a whole article and video about the Christian themes in Basic Instinct. You can take any movie, any story out there, and if you want to find it, if you want to do up your little Christian themes in it, you can find it because it's malleable, it's adaptable. If a lot of Christians, and you see this in a lot of ministries and whatnot, they've when it comes to art and how they approach art, their Christianity has become an ideology to them. They don't just look at a story and appreciate the story and say, okay, what does this story tell us? And then it's fine to say, okay, this is how this story's message is in keeping with the Christian religion. That's fine. But they don't. They watch these movies, they read these books or whatever, and they say, what can I find that's Christian in this? That's what they're going in there for. And that's this kind of crappiness. I read this article, it was ridiculous. All the Christian messages in Superman, James Gunn's Superman. I'm sick of this crap. I don't want to hear about the Christian messaging in a movie. I want to hear about a good movie. If I'm a Christian, then its values will resonate with me, and my values happen to be Christian. Okay, I'm just so sick of yeah, but it's Christian. But it's Christian. You can say that about literally anything. It's just all a matter of how many connections you want to make, and how many twists and turns and overlooks you want to do here and there. And you better be overlooking, because otherwise it's something that just hits you over the head, like Zack Snyder's obscenely ridiculous, Christ figure. Superman is a Christ figure. It's like every other scene. We get it, Zack Snyder. You're not clever about this. This is nothing new. Stop it. So I'm just really tired of people, and I think it's like they think, especially if they know you're a Christian, they're like, yeah, but you'll like it if you know this. Yeah, did you know K-pop Demon Hunter has Christian themes? Well, it's a piece of crap, and you're a horrible person for watching it. So, let's talk about some Christian themes. All right. Sorry, getting upset. No, I don't literally think you're a horrible person for watching K-pop Demon Hunter. I do have very little respect for your taste, if it's something you watch and maintain that it's a good thing. But hey, we can have different tastes. It's all good. It just bugs the crap out of me. Yeah, but there's Christian themes in it. It's like Christianity has to all like one flavor or something, I don't even like watching, like, I have no problem with this at all. The series The Chosen that's out there. That's a fictionalized account, but keeping as true to the facts of the scriptures as possible of Jesus's ministry on earth. I'm glad that's out there. I'm glad people like it. I'm glad it's doing great. Wonderful. I'm not really interested in watching it, and I can't imagine me ever sitting down and watching it. Just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean I want to sit there and watch a fictionalized. If I'm watching fiction, give me a fiction. Give me something different. But there's this assumption that if you're this, then you must like this. I don't know. I could go on more about it. It just annoys me. Tom Spiegel says it's a perfect 10 by Dave Brink on your indie comics. Is perfect 10 by Dave Brink on your indie comics reader. I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts on it, but only if you're interested. I have no idea. I don't know. Haven't heard of that. I'd be interested in taking a look though. But yeah, I have have not heard of it. No clue there what that is. Nathaniel Zalozball says, you thinking about my recommendation of making part 2 from last week's stream about culture is masculinizing women? Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I don't know if I can do a whole stream on it, but you are right. I mean, just as they're feminizing their male characters, they try to masculinize their women characters. And I mean, we say, I don't, is it still happening as much? I mean, the pinnacle of that was the garbage Terminator movie they made, with, poor Terminator franchise. Studio Super said, also, one reviewer brought up how crypto really hurts Superman's authority. I don't buy you'll one day lead the JL when you can't even get this dog to mind you. John Wick does that better. That's a good point. Yeah, one of the things that bugs me is when people try to they did this with the Zack Snyder movies too. Look at all these things they're bringing in from the comics. Yeah, but they're not bringing them in the right context. Which comics are they bringing them in from? You can't get all excited about Crypto, which is a Silver Age, wonderful Silver Age character, and then tell me that it's no big deal that everything about Supergirl is from their garbage new comics, where she's just an alcoholic, biatch who's out there, bar hopping through space. But then she finds herself, guys. I don't care about any of that crap. And it does just there's a contingent of YouTubers who are who were initially against this woke stuff. Okay. Then the anti-woke became its own little brand and grift. And so a lot of these YouTubers want to distance themselves from that. And that's fine. That's fine because I don't believe in the whole, guys, watch my channel. I'm anti-woke. I'm saying the same thing the other guy says is anti-woke. I hate that. But that doesn't mean that you suddenly stop standing up against crap stories and all the ideology that comes into it. And there are a lot of these YouTubers, some of them have even worked in the comic industry, trying to tell me that James Gunn really understands Superman. What movie did you watch? What I mean, like it's really it's I think they're just tired of being critical and they just wanted something to not have to think about and just say, yeah, it's good. Yeah, that's all it is. Um, have you ever watching the Predator movies? I saw the first Predator movie back in the day in the 80s as a kid and loved it. It was great. And that's really all I saw. Never saw any more. I've heard that the Alien versus the Predator movie is pretty good, even though it's just kind of its own Elseworlds thing. Um, the Archie versus the Predator, that was a freaking awesome comic. I know it sounds crazy. Like, what? How is that? It was actually really good. They did a couple of those. Archie meets the Punisher was actually pretty fun too. They've done some crossovers there that are pretty fun. But yeah, no, and I know I've heard about all the crazy places that it's going, recently with that recent movie and stuff. And for James Cameron to even come out and say that that movie was good. Again, these people will say literally anything if it makes them still relevant, if it gives them some kickbacks and some more revenue about some of their properties or whatever. You just it's sad. You just can't trust. There needs to be. All right, there's not. I'm not saying this is the answer. We need to push this into the system. I'm not, because the system's so broken that the system just needs to fall apart. But people always cried about the gatekeeping in the Hollywood industry. Oh, the gatekeeping, only these books that are agreed to be published by these publishers get published and get known and so forth. And oh, the internet's the great equalizer. Oh, AI is the great equalizer, guy. No, all of that means is that there's no more quality control. And that wouldn't be a problem if you had discerning readers and audiences, but we don't. We don't. At the same time, the quality controls left with the gatekeeping, we've got the this insane must consume, mentality from audiences and whatnot. I mean, and people know there's a problem and they just don't care. They still need to consume. I mean, I shared that video. Shoot, what was the guy's channel? Um, Let me see if I can find this on my. I've seen a couple of his videos and they're really great. Let's see. Echo Chamberlain. Yeah. I've seen a couple of his videos, but he's done a few recently about the problems with Hollywood, the Gen Z emotion. He did another one about the feminization of the characters and stuff like that. And it's spot on. And so many of the people who will tell me, yeah, there's real feminization of these characters, will in the next breath tell me about all of the feminized franchises that they watch. Yeah, it's like, well, nothing's gonna change as long as that's the issue. As long as, like, I mean, yeah, good for you seeing the problem, but like maybe put down the bottle. you know. um, Imaginative Hobbyist for $5. Thank you so much. He said, hello, Professor. Have you ever seen the film Batman Dead End, which has film fight against alien? Oh no, that's a fan film, right? No, I've heard about that one, but I haven't seen it. There are a lot of fan films that I haven't seen. Um, Yeah, that's kind of a rabbit hole that it's kind of one of those things that you start getting into it, and it's like there's so much out there, and you don't know what's good and what's not, and yet it takes a little time to watch them. Then there are people who will do like sort of fan made trailers. Like there was a really cool one that I saw years and years and years ago called Grayson, which was about I think was did the Joker kill Batman? So Dick Grayson is training again to take up the mantle of Robin, and he's gonna like take out the Joker or something like that. It was a cool little. It wasn't a full fledged film, but it was a trailer, of like what could be or something like that. Um, so yeah, no, I haven't seen that, but I've heard things about it. Don't really know much about it there though. Okay, yeah, you guys talking about that. So yeah, the other thing I'm reading right now. Let me drop the camera here for a second so I can go grab it and show you. It was last year that I started reading the post-crisis DC continuity again, everything I could in order, and in terms of graphic novels, but then also as much in between material that I could find on issues and stuff like that. And I was rereading some of the John Byrne Superman stuff that I'd skipped over last year because I'd already read it. But I was like, no, let me go back and reread that because it's so fun, especially when it first started out. And I got to the issue where Superman teams up with the Teen Titans. Somebody switches bodies with Superman, and the Teen Titans have to come and help him with it. And I was like, yeah, man, I remember that. I got this book as a gift one year, and I've never dug. I used to love reading Teen Titans comics, the new Teen Titans that came out in the '70s by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. This is the classic Teen Titans that most people think of. Um, but I got this whole big omnibus, at least part one. It's solid. So I've been reading through this, and it's great. It's got everything in color. So it'll take me a while to chug through, but I'm reading this now too. So again, everything I'm reading right now, it's kind of like nothing that I'm going to finish up by next week to give you guys a list of reviews. But maybe I'll take a break from the Outer Limits and watch a movie or two here and there, especially as the holidays come on. Don't really know what I'm going to do. Yeah, like that launch pad. Yeah, screw Teen Titans Go. That's right. This is the Teen Titans. Uh, I don't have hate for the first Teen Titans series that came out before Teen Titans Go, the animated series. I mean, it changed some things. It was different, but it kind of got a new generation into them, which was cool. I have no desire to watch the Titans live action crap they did on the DC streaming service for that short time they had it. That was just how much darkness can we fit into this? That was dumb. But yeah, post crisis, The Question, Blue Beetle, yeah, it was great. It's a great continuity. It's a great time period. Um, Legends was that big crossover that they did, which was great, and that's a great era of Batman, right up through the '90s. That's just good stuff. So that's probably like my most pristine era. And I think it quality maybe flags a little bit in the 2000s once you get to the next crisis or whatever it was, but it was still the solid characters. I mean, you can still read everything right up to the New 52 and still know that you're getting good classic iconic characters. So yeah, I'm just going back and rereading that and having a blast. And think about it, that's decades. That's 3 decades or so worth of comics. I'm not going to finish that up anytime soon. I don't need a new Superman movie. I don't need new comics from DC. I mean, some of these I've read before, some I haven't, but it's been years anyway. So I mean, what's this need for new crap? Studio Super said, unrelated, read a thing where the maker of Dragon Ball talked about how everyone thought he based one of the villains off Hitler. Nope, he did it off what he considered truly evil real estate real estate salesman. Yeah, I don't know anything about Dragon Ball, but I mean that makes sense. I mean, if it's going to be real evil, then it's going to reflect real evils we've had in our lives here and there. So yeah, that's pretty much my stream for the night, guys. I don't really have much else to talk about unless anybody has any last minute questions or comments or whatever. But I'm pretty much at to my hour mark anyway. But been a good week. I'm gonna veg out and warm up some pizza, and I might crack into Mafia 2 tonight. I don't know. I might go back and just play something else more familiar, but that was fun too. So definitely going to finish up that season of The Outer Limits there. No, I have not read any of James Clavell's books. Shogun, no, don't know anything about that. Haven't read that. Oh, the character's called Frieza or something like that. Yeah, I don't watch Dragon Ball. I don't know. I know it's got its fans. I just never got into it. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up then. But thank you guys for hanging out. Didn't know if I'd make it all the way to an hour, but we did. And appreciate you guys chatting back and forth. Talked about a few things. And I'll come back next week, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be back next week. Definitely be back next week. I've got a couple days, little day off there, so it'll be I'll be free and energized, and maybe I'll have a couple of good topics to make sure we get all the way to the end of the hour with. But but I'll try and put out a couple videos this week. Last week was just too many papers to grade and stuff. But we'll get it done this week. But hopefully you guys have a great week. Hopefully you're gearing up for a wonderful Advent, moving into the holiday season well. I'll see you again before Thanksgiving, but I do hope everybody is looking forward to a great Thanksgiving week and happy season there. But until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.